Celebrity Real Estate and Utah Home Sweet Home. And today I'm bringing you a very special video in that it is the biggest question that I get asked when working with clients on how do they determine what to sell their home for. So if you're a for sale by owner and you're selling your house, you may have gotten a comparable market analysis from a real estate agent who gave you this report of all the homes that have recently sold in the area. Maybe you got an appraisal on your home, and maybe you've done a Zillow search. Who knows how you came up with the price that you're choosing to sell your home. But I'm going to share with you different ways that I personally will choose to list one of my homes at. As I've discussed in previous videos, I fix and flip homes as well as being a real estate agent. And so when I'm getting ready to price one of my own homes, I usually look at multiple factors before I narrow it down to what my list price will be. It just depends on what the situation is, and I usually go over all these different situations with clients so that they can narrow it down to what they should sell their home at, because there's homes that are selling at different prices. Do they want to sell it and try and sell it for the home that sold the most, but maybe that's too aggressive, or do they want to be realistic on what they think they could actually get for the home? Or how do you know which home to use as a good comparable to your home to know exactly what you want to list your home for? So let's dive into this. What should I price my house at? Well, there's typically three different things that I like to keep in mind when I'm getting ready to price my home, and there's three things that I'll typically educate my clients on when I'm helping them discuss and determine what I think they should list their home at based off of their situation. Because keep in mind, everybody's situation is different. And depending on your situation will depend on how you end up pricing your home. All right, so the first way that you can price your home is aggressive. And if I fix and flip a home, I want to try and turn it over for as much money as possible. Who doesn't want to sell their home for as much money as possible? In my opinion, that is the aggressive way of pricing your home. Let's price this home to try and get as much money out of it as possible. Now, some of the factors that I will look into to determine how I'm going to come up with that aggressive price is how much inventory is there on the market right now as we speak. You see, getting an agent to send you comparables of what homes recently sold for doesn't paint the whole picture. That just paints part of the picture. It just shows me what houses have just recently sold for. But I need to know what the inventory right now is on the market, because the inventory is my competition. It's your competition. Is there one house on the market, or is there 20 houses on the market within a half a mile, within a mile of your home? The more homes there are that are on the market close to your house, the more competition you have. And the more competition you have, the more you have to be aware of what they're selling their homes for, so that you can be respectably competitive to their homes. And that is one key on how you'll dictate how aggressive you can be. For example, if there are maybe 2 or 3 homes on the market within a mile of the house, there's not a lot of inventory, so there's not a lot of competition. So since there's not a lot of competition, I might be able to be a little more aggressive on the price, opposed to if there were 15 homes on the market that I'm now competing against. Okay, the other thing that I want to look at is the homes that did sell, the ones that just recently sold. What was their days on market? How long were they on the market for them to sell at that price? So let's just say, for the hypothetical, for the sake of this example, I'm going to say a hypothetical price of $300,000. But this individual sold the home for $300,000, but it took him 180 days to get that. Well, that tells me $300,000 may be a little too aggressive, because it took a really long time to come to that price. One thing that you'll want to do is check the history of that home on its pricing, meaning maybe it sat on the market for 180 days because he started his first price at $400,000 and then dropped it to $350,000 and then $330,000, $320,000, $310,000, and finally dropped it to $300,000, and now he sold it. If that's the case, then maybe $300,000 is the price. However, if it sat on the market at $300,000 for 180 days, that might not be the price. So again, the days on market of the sold is also another part of what paints the picture on how to determine what you price your home at. And what's the history of those days on market? Was it one price that whole time, or was it a series of price decreases? Okay, the other thing is, what is the condition of your home compared to the homes that sold at top dollar, that sold with a little days on market, right? Are you comparing your home apples to apples? So, maybe you feel your home is beautiful, drop dead gorgeous, and it may be, but the home down the street that got $300,000 is freshly remodeled with everything of the latest technology installed into the home. It's the nicest remodel on the block, and so using that as your comparable might not be the best property because they have everything brand new and yours might be 5 years, 10 years, however much older it is to their amenities to your amenities. So are you comparing apples to apples? Make sure that the condition of your property, make sure you're comparing homes that are similar in the same condition of your home. Okay? So those are some of the things that I'm going to look at if I'm looking to try and sell my home for top dollar. Just as a quick recap, how much competition do I have on the market? All right? The homes that did sell, how long did it take for them to get that price? Because although I want top dollar, I don't want to wait 90, 120, 180 days for that. I want to turn my money quickly, so I want to see what homes are selling for at top dollar, but on a small days on market. That's very important. Okay, and then again, are you comparing condition of your home to similar comparables, conditions, and again, apples to apples, not apples to oranges. All right, so that's the aggressive approach. The conservative approach is this is the price it will probably sell at according to the data. As I look through all the comparables, I might price it aggressively to try and get top dollar, but maybe I just want to price it right? Not aggressive. And so I look at all the data, and this is the data, this is the price that data is basically telling me this is what the home will sell for. Now, in many cases, data does not sell a home. Emotion sells a home. So in many cases, people have priced their home conservatively and found out that someone loved their home so much, or multiple buyers loved their home so much, that a bidding war ended up happening, and they ended up selling their home for more than what the data suggested. Okay? So again, that goes back to, can I be aggressive? Is this something that is emotionally going to attract a buyer? Is my home that I'm selling beautiful, or is the condition a little run down? Again, we want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. So, in the conservative approach, I might just list the property based off of what the data is telling me, but again, that could be wrong, because if it does have a lot of sizzle, it could be selling for more. But this is simply going off what the data suggests. The last approach is underpricing your home for a quick sell. Okay, so some sellers that I work with have to sell their home very quickly. They're either moving, they got transferred to another city, another state. For whatever reason, they're in a race against the clock to get their home sold. So if they're in a race to get their home sold fast, aggressive is probably not the way to go. Conservative, maybe you could play with it a little bit. But in a case where you are in a race against time, you might want to underprice your home a little bit. When I say underprice, I don't mean a lot. What I'm going to do is pull up what's the cheapest property on the market right now. What's the inventory say? What is my competition that's on the market as we speak? What is the cheapest house that's there? And then I'm going to compare that house to my house. Is my house nicer, or is my house the same condition as them? Because if I'm priced around that lower price point, those prices are obviously going to attract the most attention. And if I need to get my house sold quickly, I need to attract as much attention as possible. Again, sometimes there's a strategy in pricing your home strategically lower than the rest of the market simply because, What did I just say? Lower prices attract the most attention. And if you attract the most attention, oftentimes you find your property in a bidding war because these buyers are like, oh my gosh, this property is so cheap, let's submit an offer, but then again, so is every other buyer. And then you find yourself in a bidding war, and sometimes you find yourself selling at the conservative price, and if your property is nice, in some cases, you might even find yourself selling for the aggressive price. Now, there's one thing that I left out that I should have shared back here with the aggressive price. The next question, and forgive me for forgetting to mention this earlier, is how long should I stay aggressive, right? I want to try and get top dollar for one of my remodeled homes. So I'm going to price it aggressively. Let's say in this example, I go online and I see what my competition is doing and the days on market, the solds, and condition of the home. Well, my home is one of the nicest. I just finished remodeling it in my example. Then how do I know how long I should stay aggressive? Well, in my personal opinion, you don't want to be aggressive for any longer than 7 to 14 days without considering a price reduction. You're going to test the market for no more than 7 to 14 days. Within a week, you'll know if you're too aggressive because no one's calling to see it, no one's showing it. It's just priced too high for that for that pool of buyers in that particular neighborhood. So within 7 to 14 days, depending on how long you want to be aggressive, I don't recommend longer than 2 weeks, usually around 1. If within a week I don't get a lot of traction to my properties, this is again, for me personally on my own homes, I'm going to drop the price a little bit. So my recommendation to clients is the same. I recommend to clients they should do basically, I basically share to clients, this is what I would do if I'm in your shoes, because this is literally what I do. And so, again, 7 to 14 days, you don't get a lot of traction, you don't get a lot of attention, then consider a price reduction, and from there you're going to drop it to the conservative price, which is the price that the data is probably suggesting you're going to sell for. In some cases, that price attracts a lot of attention, you get in a bidding war, and before you know it, it's bid back up, maybe not quite as aggressive as you once started, but maybe higher than this price. So, again, just getting the solds sent to you when you're determining to price your home correctly doesn't paint the whole picture. You definitely want to get a hold of what's on the market right now as an active, because again, that's your competition, and then I like to even see what's under contract as we speak. Hasn't officially sold, but it's already taken off the market. There are buyers who've already put it under contract. I want to see what those prices are. And again, I want to look at the days on market. How long did it take for that property to go under contract? Was it 7 days or was it 50 days? And that's a big difference. And that helps you paint a much better picture when you take the solds, the actives, and the under contracts. That helps paint a better picture on what you should sell your house for, depending on your personal situation. Again, if you have time to be aggressive and you can be patient and wait 7 to 14 days, maybe that's the number you want to go for. If you need to just get this property sold, maybe you want to be conservative. And if you're in an absolute hurry, you might want to underprice your property just a little bit to attract as much of attention to that property as possible. And again, like I said, data doesn't sell property, emotion sells property. And if you price your home correctly, and again, correctly could mean any of these three depending on your personal situation. If you price your home correctly, then oftentimes you'll find yourself sometimes in a bidding war. I know it was a lot that we went over. It's kind of confusing, but it truly is in my personal opinion, the best way to price a home. Again, as a real estate investor and a real estate agent, I not only suggest this to pricing my clients' homes, these strategies, but I actually implement these strategies for me personally when I'm trying to sell one of my own homes. So, guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more great helpful tips. And if you guys have any questions in regards to anything that I discussed in this video, feel free to give me a call anytime. My telephone number is 801-810-4475. If you need somebody to help you with CMA, basically a comparable market analysis, to pull this data, feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to help you in pulling up the datas of the solds, the under contracts, and the actives, and answer any questions you may have. All right, guys, it's Yoshi Shiraki with Equity Real Estate and Utah Home Sweet Home. Don't be a stranger. Call me anytime. Again, it's 801-810-4475.